This conference will now be recorded.
Showing up. I want to congratulate you for doing that. Should we go ahead and get started? My name is Vicki Griffiths, and I'm the chairperson of the election committee. I will be your moderator, assisted by our election committee members. I would like for the election committee members to please stand. We have quite a nice committee. They work real well together. Thank you. Give them an applause. We are assisted in our work by Community Manager Darlene Pedro, Operational Manager Mike Nice, Amy Maxwell, and Board Liaison Cindy Evans. Thank you for showing up. It shows you have a real interest in our resort, and especially to hear what the candidates running for the Board of Directors has to say. It is very important to us to make our voices heard. As those we elect, we'll be making important decisions for our resort for the next 3 years. It should never be a popularity contest. Rather, it is who fits the important decisions that our community will be making. So really study what their bios say as well as what they have to say. We will be conducting another Meet the Candidates next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. So if you want to come for different questions next week, you're more than welcome to. I want to especially thank the candidates for coming forth to dedicate and volunteer their time. It is not a position to take lightly, and those candidates have so many great qualifications. It's going to be really hard to vote for only 2. But be careful when you cast your vote, because when you cast your vote, it is imprinted. Our forum will be today from 1 to 3. You were asked to bring your election packets so you can make notes regarding each candidate. If you did not and want a set of bios, which gives you information about each of the candidates as well as why they are running for the board and what their qualities for their position represent, please raise your hand if you do need some bios. My committee members have extras at the door. We asked for questions to be submitted ahead of time, and there was an overwhelming amount of questions, which will be addressing different questions at both of the Meet of the Candidates, like I said. Now let's meet our candidates. Are you ready? As I say your name, would you please stand and wave your hand, and please remain standing. Kathleen Connor. Oh, that's right. Jennifer Ellswick. Roberta Ernest. Justin Hurd. William Rhodes. Greg Sherman. Wayne Taylor. Thank you, and we will rotate the questions. I would like to also thank you all for silencing your phones so they don't go off during the event. Ronnie, please stand, Ronnie. She'll be our timer, and she will raise her hand after 1.5 minutes, giving you 30 seconds left. Please observe the time, so each candidate will have equal time to do this, okay? Thank you, Ronnie. Ready for the first question? Starting with Kathleen, because what we'll do is rotate. Each person will have the opportunity, though. As a board member, what is your responsibility versus that of a general manager, which the general manager here is Darlene?
As a board member, I believe our position is to represent our community.
As a board member, it will be my responsibility to follow the governing documents of the Happy Trails HOA. It is the responsibility of the board to choose a manager and a management company. And the manager and the management company must act within the confines and the guidelines of the contract that they have with the HOA.
Board member responsibility is to represent the community who you have elected to do so. The board is responsible for all property actions, things that regard the association. The general manager is appointed, or I should say hired, by the board of directors to take care of the day-to-day operations within the community based on the guidelines of the board. The board runs, I have to agree with Jennifer, she said it eloquently, the board has to follow the bylaws, the CC&Rs, the rules and regs. All of those documents come into play when running this association. The board and the manager need to work collectively and together to make sure this association runs smoothly and remains viable for the years to come.
As a board member, as previously mentioned, to uphold the bylaws of the board and the HOA, with the voting and entrusting the board members to protect the properties as well as what goes on at Happy Trails, working with the general manager hand in hand to not only make sure that the guidelines are followed, but also what is best for the properties and the property owners. As a board member, I would ensure to uphold the laws of that and work together with the board to make sure that all of the residents are protected in what is being decided on.
As a board director, it's your responsibility to watch the fiscal responsibilities of the resort. The main position of the general manager is to initiate the policies that have been established by the board, and she does the main work.
As a board member, our job is to make sure that the property stays running, the buildings are in good shape, and the rules are being followed. Compared to Darlene, I believe that Darlene is hired by the property management company. I'm not sure about that. But that puts us in connection with the property management company, and they're the ones that tell us what's legal, what's not legal, and what they, what we should be doing or could be doing.
As a board member, we would be responsible for following the procedures and the codes that we have, and to also follow up to make certain that they are applied to and followed. Also, as a board member, we're here to assist property management in the way of their needs, and especially in the way of your needs.
Thank you. Our next question, Jennifer, this will be for you to start answering and then go down the line. What are your main goals for Happy Trails Resort over the next 2 years?
The main goals of any resort or community is to protect, preserve, and enhance our property values. We've got to take care of the value of our property. And to do so, we must make certain that our amenities are good. We must make certain that our infrastructure is good. We must make certain that we are planning for the future. We cannot be short-sighted and think, I'm going to think about me in a year. We have to think about this resort 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, so that it remains viable for for those people just coming in to Happy Trails, and that for the people who may come into Happy Trails in the future.
So my goals for the resort, for Happy Trails, first and foremost, there can be no personal agendas when you get on the board. It has to be for the community. I have always worked to make sure that Happy Trails comes into the present and then we prepare it for the future. We need to maintain our facilities, our activities. That comes with a physical responsibility in making sure that we are spending our money wisely and appropriately. We also have a long-range planning session that took place last year, and we need to make sure that we get those focus groups out there so that we can hear what the community is interested in, and then take that information and figure out how we incorporate it to move forward, to make sure that our property values stay relevant and that Happy Trails remains vibrant and that we don't lose it as many associations I've seen in South Florida tank because nobody's paying attention. So my goals are whatever your goals are for this association to continue to thrive.
My goals on being a board of director and as a fairly new resident here is yes, it's 2 years, but it's also beyond that. And it's, as I moved here to enjoy the neighborhood, have a sense of responsibility as well. And I think as within 2 years, I mean, first, I'm not, I haven't been on the board as Kathleen has, but to understand what the challenges have been previously, and then how we can move forward in the future to not only overcome those challenges while being fiscally responsible, but as well as uphold the property values and as many items of enjoyment and the appearance of the neighborhood to go into the future beyond the 2 years.
Having been in Happy Trails for nearly 30 years, having served on the board for 6 years as a treasurer in the past, about 2006, the board directorship was very successful at that time, and the present board has presented the same type of management for our resort. I've been involved in everything in this resort, from building the grounds to design review committee. I've served in many positions of contacting the city in order to continue the growth of the community. Happy Trails started out really as a travel destination for people, and it was seasonal, but it's becoming more and more of a destination resort. Consequently, the type of improvements that we are experiencing has been initiated by people like myself and additional people.
My goals are obviously infrastructure, keep the buildings in good shape. Obviously, the roads are almost all done. And to make sure that 3,350 of us all have our individual rights to our properties, to make sure that we get to live on our property the way we see fit for ourselves. And so that would be about what I would want to do.
Well, my goal is coming out of the survey. The survey indicated communication, structural, and security and speeding and marketing. Communication is vital because without proper communication, we have nothing but stories, and most of which gossip. And we can't operate with people not trusting what the board is really dealing with. So communication from the board is vital, but even more than that, communication from the committees. And my recommendation would be that both the board and the committees would submit an agenda about 3 days before they meet. That way, if you have some interest in something special, you would attend those meetings. Whereas many times you go to a committee meeting and there's really nothing of interest. It's kind of a waste of time other than getting to meet people. It's vital that we, all of us, are part of the solution that we have. We're not the problem, we're the solution. And we can't find the proper solutions unless we attend the meetings.
I think one of my goals would be, first off, to begin to understand the community itself and what the people want. I think this is a community with a lot of residents. There's a lot of new residents, including myself, who are not aware of some of the older things that have happened. And I'm not sure if you still want those older things to continue. It's something that we need to learn from the residents. And so I agree with what you said about the communication. That's so important, to hear what the people want, to hear what they need, and for the board to act on their interests. I think we do need some upgrades and some updates to the properties, but we should also work within our budget. I think the budget committee is a huge responsibility that we need to work on, to not raise our HOAs, but to use them wisely. I think that's super important for all of us. And I agree with the communication especially, and to educate our residents, especially the new ones who come in. They need to know what the rules are and what is expected of them. And as board members, we should be out there talking to them and listening to what they have to say.
Okay, starting with Roberta. Do you plan on picking up and moving forward with these long-range plans, or do you want to move in a different direction?
Can you say that one more time for me? I missed the first part.
No problem. Do you plan on picking up and moving forward with these long-range plans, or do you want to move in a different direction?
No, as I stated before, we spent the money on the long-range planning survey, and we have received the results back that talked about communications, infrastructure, safety, all of that. And I think it's important that we as a board and as a community come together with focus groups to determine, are those the areas that we want to focus on? There is a little bit of every part of that that needs to be planned forward. So yes, I want to carry on with the strategic plan, and then we'll add to that as needed. No different direction. Again, my goals are what your goals are as a community.
Yeah, to me, it's a combination of both. Obviously, there was a lot of thought put into the long-range plan, but I think it also needs to be reevaluated if that is the right direction to go in. Some of the items have already been completed. There's some that have not, but I think as a board member or as a board, we would need to look at what that long-range plan is, what is still outstanding, and it has to be a blend of moving towards the future as well as finishing what the residents and the board voted on previously that are going to make a larger impact to the properties.
I think as a board and as a board member, we need to be very careful about doing a knee jerk with this survey and reevaluate as the time goes on the needs of the community, and be very careful not to make any snap decision.
The long-range plan was pretty helpful on telling us what people want, and the direction that we should be heading. So obviously we should be, paying attention to that survey. And as the survey went, more than half of us are really happy with the resort. 60, 70% of us is the resort's in good or excellent condition. So I think that we use the long-range plan and move forward with some of the things that that can be improved upon. But this is a great place, and everybody seems to be very happy with it.
I prefer to stand up, I think, a little bit better. The long-range plan pointed out several things. The uniqueness that we are at Happy Trails. If you really look around, people are pretty much content. Yes, there's things that we can improve upon, but that comes about every day and every year. But for the most part, people are content. It is Happy Trails. Again, as I mentioned before, communication. That disrupts a lot of it. If we're true and open, we're much happier. One of the things that I would like to see with us is that we spend more time caring for one another. There's two demographics in here, old and older. And we need to take care of both.
Well, when you're at the end of the line, you kind of repeat what everybody says. The long-range goals, the survey came out, and as he said, the majority of the people wanted certain things done. And I think we need to proceed with that as what was started, but we also need to look at new, fresh ideas and how to do them within our budget. I think that's a huge thing, though, is the budget. It's very important that we do these issues, but we remain in our budget.
There was a lot of time, energy, and money spent on the long-range planning goals. The board requested input from every owner in different venues. We were invited to take a survey. We were invited to sit and participate in groups. So a lot of thought went into the long-range planning. But the thing to remember is it is a long-range planning goal. It is not necessarily cast in cement. If something changes within our resort that we need to amend, redirect, or rethink about that long-range planning goal, we must be flexible as a board in order to do that. We also, which has been mentioned, we must be conscious of the money that we spend and how we spend it, and that we spend it for the greater good of everyone in this community.
Okay, starting with Justin. What do you feel is your greatest strength, and why would you be the best person to be selected for the board? So I guess it's a two-part question.
So I think for me to be considered for the board, I feel my greatest strength is I've served on numerous business boards, so I feel that I bring to the table, not just a financial aspect, but a business acumen. I currently am on the Alcohol Licensed Beverage Association board, which I've been for 7 years. And I've been on previous Chamber of Commerce's and some restaurant association boards, as well as charities. So I think that my business acumen to really protect the assets and manage in a way that looks at it more from a business perspective on one hand, as well as obviously I'm a resident here and a full-time resident. Although I am new, I've enjoyed the amenities here and need to obviously get out in the community more. I acknowledge that, but I think, from a strength perspective, it's, currently the business acumen, financial knowledge, and planning. On the other, side of the question, I think that, for me, it's, again, being a new resident here, it's a great opportunity to, take the property into the future, to have a fresh perspective on it, and to, utilize my skills to help with the communication, the marketing, et cetera, that has come up.
What I bring to the board, if I'm elected, is the years of experience that I've had in Happy Trails from the very beginning, working with the developer and working with management. I've worked under 4 managers in this resort during my time, particularly on the board. I've been involved with the interviewing of potential management firms and managers and so forth. I think it's very important that we focus on what Happy Trails initially is. I think the CC&Rs speak for themselves as to what our opportunities here are and what our responsibilities are. And it would be my mission to continue to develop and enforce that. Thank you.
Will you repeat the question again?
Yes. What do you feel is your greatest strength, and why would you be the best person to be selected for the board of directors?
My greatest strength would be I worked in a successful landscape company for 40 years with property management companies and boards, which is very difficult because you're dealing with a whole lot of people to try to get one job. What was the last part of that question?
Why would you be the best person to be selected for the board? Sell us on you, okay?
I ask a lot of questions, and that's why I would be the best person for the board, is when things are put before me, I just continually ask questions: who, what, where, why. And it's important for me to completely understand what it is I'm dealing with and not just vote along party lines.
My strongest desire is to serve you. It's a need that I have and a want. Now, as far as some of my strengths, I kind of think outside the box. When I was a young assistant manager many years ago up in Seattle, working for Safeway, I couldn't find enough young men to be box boys. So I hired a young woman. It was amazing the blowback that I got. So I hired another one. And the company changed the name of the position, box boy, to courtesy clerk. You have to think beyond. I had the first woman as an assistant manager. And probably one of the things that I really look at was one day I came back to work from lunch, and I saw the legs of a woman going through our garbage. And it kind of angered me at first. And I thought about it, and I called up our company and asked why we couldn't donate perishable goods. And their answer was liability. Well, I had a friend in the legislature, and I explained the job, the concern to him, and he worked at passing the first Good Samaritan law, which enabled us to donate perishable goods. I think outside the box. I don't know why.
Well, I think some of the strengths that I have is I have served prior on a planning commission. I've worked on a negotiating team, bargaining teams with union members and non-union members, management. I was mayor of a very small town, less than 400 people. When you have a very small town, you still have some very big issues with water and sewer, garbage, those sorts of things that cost more than what some of the people preferred to pay. Those were issues that we needed to work on, but we also needed to listen to what they wanted and what they needed. I don't know that I would be the best candidate, but I'd sure like a chance to work for this community. I feel we just moved here recently and I fell in love with this community. I loved the fact that no two places were exactly alike, that no two people were exactly alike. We're all different. We all have different dreams, desires, and that sort of thing. And I just want a chance to serve you.
What I can bring as a director to Happy Trails is 20+ years experience working as a community association manager. As a community association manager, I was responsible for creating the operating budgets for my associations, the 20-year capital budgets for my associations, doing the compliance inspections for my associations, getting bids for both one-off project and long-term projects for my associations, preparing an agenda packet that would include an agenda, the minutes from the previous meeting, any required bids, any property inspection reports. I have a very keen understanding of how the management company and the board need to work together to make Happy Trails a great place for each and every one of us to live. What I also bring to the board is a very strong desire to serve the community in which I live. I wish to make a difference, and I believe that being on the board is a great place to make a difference.
So the question, what is my greatest strength? Well, I feel one of my greatest strengths is that I'm a team player. I can lead, I can follow, I listen, and I challenge, all for the benefit of Happy Trails and this board and the association. What do I bring, or why do I feel that I should be the candidate you vote for? I carry 24 years of experience working on HOA boards. 4 different associations. I've held various positions from vice president to secretary to compliance management in self-ran associations, meaning we did not have a management company running us. I have 36 years as a retired Air Force veteran, where I climbed both the enlisted ladder and the officer corps ladder. I know how to get things done, but that requires to lead and to follow. I very much believe in being involved in the community that you reside in or you participate in. I agree with Ron, who said it's an honor to serve the community, but I also think there's a little bit of obligation there. There is so much to be done in this big association that if everybody just did a little bit, we could get a lot more done. So I look at it as a commitment that I give to you. I'm available all the time. I've never turned down any questions or emails. And I'm currently on the board, have been for 2 years, have ran, this will be my 3rd year running. And I'm really looking forward to representing you again.
Thank you. Next question, William Rhodes, please. What do you feel was the top 3 things that the board of directors accomplished this past year? Well, along that same line, what 3 things would you have liked them to have done? So what did they accomplish And what would you have liked to have seen them accomplished?
I don't even know where to start with that question, Vicki.
I know it's pretty loaded, isn't it?
I think I'll pass on the answer to that question.
That is a tough question. The board that we have has been doing a terrific job. You can see our buildings are being maintained. We're getting new roofs. We've got a new chlorine system for the swimming pool. We've got brand new roads throughout the resort. The pickleball courts, I think, were recovered a couple of weeks ago. So our board has been pretty much dynamite. And so as far as what they could do in the future, I guess, is just to continue to maintain some of the buildings. I think that our building over at the Cascades needs some help on the outside of it, or maybe even replace it. But it's tough to say, you know, what I would like the board to do now. I think that our existing board has been fabulous. So I'd like to work with them.
I tend to agree with Craig. The board has done a lot of things, but there's still a lot of things yet to be done. And it's kind of like when you take on a new job, you build on what you have, not destroy everything and start all over again. Happy Trails looks a lot better, and for the most part, people have responded. A couple things that I probably will do, whether I'm on the board or not. One is the sign out at our entrance that was destroyed was a good start. Anyway, I've been looking at that, and one of the reasons that it doesn't look appealing is that we have this ugly water pipe in the middle of the road. I asked Mike if he would mind if I would check with the city and see if we could build a sign over the water pipe. That would add to the attractiveness of our entrance. We talked about pickleball courts. I have an idea for that too. There's a lot of things that we can do as individuals, whether we're on the board or not. It's just a matter of becoming involved. Was that a signal? Okay. She was just, anyway, you know, a lot of us are retired and we enjoy our retirement, but yet we still have a little bit still in us to make a lot of improvements. And working with you, I think it can be done.
Well, I can honestly say I have no clue as to what the board did. There are 3 top things that they did. I'm just getting involved and I'm just trying to learn some of the things that's going on. I think that we have a ways to go. I believe that there are some things that they accomplished, some good things for the community, for the roads, for the pool. Like you said, I enjoy that pool. I think there are some things that need to be done, and I think it's upgrading and updating, but we need to stay within our budget. That's a huge thing to me.
I believe that the 3 top things that have been accomplished this year are putting in motion the long-range plan, obviously maintaining our facilities, putting together the We Are Listening sessions that are smaller, that you can attend and speak to the board members. And probably the 3rd thing is restructuring the management and the management team. Going forward, I think the things that should be addressed, the top 3 things in my mind, are, once again, maintaining our facilities and our infrastructure, making sure that we hear what the people that live in the community have to say, and also looking at, for lack of a better word, the face of the community or the way the community looks. When I pull into Happy Trails, one of the things that absolute makes me the happiest is it's after dark and there are lights on Happy Trails Boulevard. I pull in, I see the lights, and it gives me a good feeling about the community. Also, when I see the landscaping being maintained in the common areas, it gives me a good feeling about the community. So we need to take care of our community. We need to listen to the people who live here. And we need to look at the pretty stuff too, because that's the first impression everybody sees when they come in.
So top 3 things. There were a lot of things. But I will tell you this, the roads, the roofs, all of those which were in plan or in motion before I actually got on the board are finally coming to fruition, if you will, which is a good thing. Those were great. One thing that you probably do not or are not aware of is that we worked out a policy that allowed us to decrease our aged report or delinquencies from owners by approximately 70%. We don't have an actual number. That was huge. That was huge. And again, you wouldn't know that. How about the fact that we got a viable restaurant in the Chuck Wagon? That's working great. That's just a start. And then we just approved front steps, which will lead to better communications for the community. It will be viable for you, I promise. Things that I would like to see that didn't happen. Well, they didn't have a couple things that didn't happen because they haven't been presented yet. We have 155 registered veterans in this community. And I find it rather interesting that we don't have a Veterans Charter Club. So I will be pushing for us to have a chartered Veterans Club here at Happy Trails. I think that's really important. Talk about people that want to serve. They've already served. They continue to serve. I'd like to look at electronic voting so that we can cut costs in our budget. We talk about fiduciary responsibility. I'd like to see more revenue streams so we can mitigate operational expenses so that we can moderate any type of assessment increases.
As far as the top 3 items, again, I purchased here in June, moved here in September, so can't necessarily answer on the top 3 from the last year. However, in the time that I've been here, I have seen the roads. There have definitely been, improvements, which certainly, puts the board and the HOA on the right track. From standpoint of moving forward, a lot of the comments have already been said, but, I think definitely, in upgrading or, refreshing the look of some of the areas, it's great that Chuck Wagon is here, but what can be looked at to make it a better dining experience while the guests are there. From revenue streams, I mean, there's great facilities here. Are there opportunities to have organizations use that from obviously within parameters, but to get additional revenue streams out of that has also been mentioned. I think that again, as look towards the future and the facilities that are here, I think you see a lot of plumbing issues that are around, sometimes in the same areas consistently. Although I will say it, getting emails, if it doesn't impact where my house is, it seems that it's fixed very quickly, but it also seems very common. So what can be done to, from an infrastructure wise, to improve the surrounding facilities?
Thank you. Starting with Greg. Have you noticed any buildings which could be used for something else? A better usage of them? Question mark.
Repeat the question, please.
Have you noticed any buildings which could be used for something else?
Well, none of the buildings are large enough for a bowling alley, so. I haven't noticed any buildings that could be used for something else. It seemed to me that, that the restaurant, if we had sliding doors that would open to the outer picnic area, that it would make that building larger and more available for people just to eat outside. The weight room is pretty tiny, but the configuration of like the building at the Cascades where the laundry room is, that's still not large enough for that. So I think that if we had to, we would have to like increase the size of the building rather than try to find something that would be useful for another situation that we have here.
That is a tough question, mainly because anytime that you make a change, usually there's a lot of people that rise up. And especially when you start appropriating rooms that you think can be used better, such as the library. It's a large piece of property. Maybe it can be used better, but yet all of a sudden you're going to discover how many people actually use the library. One of the areas that I first thought about was the RV parking storage. At one time, all of the RVs were parked in their spots. And when people started bringing in Arizona rooms and other structures, they had to have a place to park their RVs. Well, looking at the property up there, it's full and there's a waiting list. But on the other hand, you can look at that property and reassign some of the lots, because a lot of those slots are filled with toys rather than RVs. And the toys you could put in one area rather than taking up RV spaces. It's like almost anything. You look at a problem and you look at it as far as cubes. How much material can you put into a limited space? So you go through and reappropriate it and make it much more functional. Right now, it's the same it was when it was first created.
Yeah, that is a very good question. I haven't really noticed any buildings that could be used for something else. I agree, though, about the library. It's very large. And I'm not sure if you could use, like, library, do something in the evening time in those buildings, or if you could share some of the club meeting areas. I'm just not sure about that at all. Wouldn't know how to respond to that question.
I cannot say that I have noticed any building that should be repurposed for something else, nor have I noticed that any section of any building could be used for something else. I think that we use the PAC very efficiently for a lot of different things, which is a good thing. I think that reappropriating space is something that must be considered incredibly carefully by the board, that they do not fall into the trap of addressing one specific group of people.
Jennifer, that of any building that needs to be reclaimed. I do think that as we look forward to updating buildings, and when we go through the long-range plan and we look at activities and clubs and we look at assignments, we need to consider all of that, but we have to do it very carefully. But to think of one particular building that's not being used properly or needs to be changed into something else, Not at this time.
Yeah, for me, I don't know that I can, answer this question with the full, knowledge of everything that goes on, within it being fairly new. And then as far as, looking for future, I mean, as the needs of all of the residents change, I think that's when it's a time to see what, if there is some wasted space or room that either can be shared or repurposed. It really would come from the surveys that are done throughout the community to see what makes it best for everyone.
Vicki, respectfully at this time, I would like to withdraw my candidacy. My hearing is so poor, I can't hear the questions. And I think with the acoustics in this building that I would really have a problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Greg?
I started that.
Okay, I know that you guys have touched on this a little bit, but updates, this would go to Wayne. Updates to the Chuck Wagon, what would you recommend?
What was that question again?
Regarding the Chuck Wagon, what improvements would you make to the Chuck Wagon to make it more eye appealing?
Well, at the present, it looks like we have a pretty good chef. That was the main purpose of getting someone that was reliable. And from that, we can use the proceeds to upgrade it at really no expense to the community. As far, you could ask my wife, I don't have too much talent in that area. As long as the plate is full and it looks good, I'm happy.
Okay, so perhaps some new tables, some booths, some new chairs, just some basic upgrading, new decorating, just kind of modernize it a little bit. And again, that's going to come within whatever money is received or whatever income comes in that we could use for that.
I believe that we have a good chef, we have a good menu, and we have a nice amenity on site in the Chuck Wagon. We can choose to go there and eat, or we can choose to not go there and eat, but we do have that choice, and that's important. What I personally would like to see is I'd like to see an outdoor seating area at the Chuck Wagon. We have beautiful weather here most of the time, great sunshine, and I like to sit outside and enjoy a meal outside. So one thing I'd like to see is outside seating.
Agreed. You need smaller tables so we can have more intimate conversations, maybe some benching along the side. We'd like to see it up on the inside. Can you hear me? All right, Dave. There you go. I'll start again. Paint on the inside, updated, smaller tables for more. Here. Thank you. We'll try this one, Dave. Where did I leave? Smaller tables, updated painting, flooring, change that out, maybe change some cabinetry. We got to work with Chef Peters to see kind of what his ideas are. He's looking at TVs, I believe, in there and how he wants to maybe structure it. We'll have to see. We'll play with that. I would like to see some outdoor seating as well. We have great weather here all year long, so we'd like to be able to take advantage of that. And I think that'll be it. But remember, the money doesn't come from what the chuck wagon brings in. It comes from our entire operating expense. Well, we have to plan for it.
Yeah, I think that, making the space more inviting would be great for all. I agree, some smaller tables for privacy, but also in a way that tables can be pushed together for larger groups. So you're not taking away, either party. Some banquettes, definitely the lighting, some softer lighting, flooring. I definitely do agree with the outside. I think when you go in there, the food is great, the menus are great, but they have a great experience. It's just not being experienced by everyone. So I think more, the community are taking it home as opposed to really utilizing the great opportunity that we have to have a restaurant on site.
This goes along with what I said before about sliding doors that could open and allow the restaurant to be indoor, outdoor, where we could utilize the table. Beer would be good. Maybe the back section as a sports venue where we could watch some, Super Bowls and some playoff games and that sort of thing. So that would be fun for that. But yeah, let's get beer.
I want to thank you for all of your answers to the questions. And next Tuesday, we'll have additional questions for the candidates. In closing, I want to remind you all that the ballots are sent to the addresses on file in the office. If you're in the resort, Lily and her crew put them in your mailbox. Otherwise, they are mailed and delivered by the Postal Service. If you have not given the office your notice of occupancy form, the forms can be found in the mailroom. Then take it to the office for Stephanie to put it in the computer and update your information. If you did not receive your ballot, you can pick one up at the office as well. Reminder to follow the rules on sending it in so your vote will count. On the back side of the ballot, there are instructions. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we can help you on that, because we will be going through those on February the 15th is when we start validating, and at 3:30 that day, that is the deadline to turn in your vote. Then Friday on the 16th, we will start counting, and we will be doing it in the Manzanita room. You're more than welcome to come and watch. Or however, you can't talk. You'll get kicked out if you do, because it is distracting. But it will also be televised, so you can watch it on the GoToMeeting site as well. One ballot per lot is permitted. I know that I have been asked about why isn't everybody entitled to a vote, but this is according to the rules. So one per lot. And if you own more than one lot, use an envelope for each lot and put your lot number, your name on the outside of the envelope, because that is how we validate it, okay? Also, the name on the outside of the envelope has to match the owner of the property. If it is not, then we can't validate it. Thank you again for coming. And as I said, next Tuesday from 6 to 8, there'll be new questions asked at that time. And I want to again thank the candidates for stepping forward and wanting to volunteer their time for our resort. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.